of these stories will you be talking about tomorrow? The Gulf's human health crisis explodes. The number of cleanup workers there exposed to a dispersant so toxic it is no longer used, more than 15%. More reasons for those behind the website BP Makes Me Sick. One way to get exposed to 2-butoxyethanol is to breathe it. A new coalition of environmental and fishing groups has launched a site called bpmakesmesick.com, petitioning President Obama to make BP give the workers respirators. Let's turn first to Marilee Orr, Executive Director of the Louisiana Environmental Action Network, part of the coalition behind bpmakesmesick.com. Marilee, thanks again for your time tonight.
Oh, Keith, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to share with you.
Your reaction to this report from Greenwire concerning the toxicity levels that BP is itself reporting among the cleanup workers?
Keith, I wish I could say I was surprised. I wish I could say I was shocked. But considering we've been talking to Alaskan fishermen, the Waterkeeper Alliance, the keepers that are there, telling us that these chemicals are very toxic and can make you very sick, unfortunately, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all.
Why don't the workers have respirators now? We've been talking about this for almost the length of this time of the attempt to clean this up.
We talked about that before, Keith. I believe it's a liability issue. They're saying that they're not finding anything in the air that means that you could use a respirator. We feel that a worker has the right to choose whether or not they use a respirator. A lot of our fishers that are out there, so they're smelling things, they're getting sick. We want to err on the side of health and safety. I think it's really imperative that the folks who are cleaning up the spill clean it up safely and they can go home to their families healthy.
But the government didn't stop BP from using a more highly toxic dispersant even than the normal toxic dispersants. It has not ensured that workers can wear respirators, let alone mandate that. How much of the blame does the government have ethically and down the road when it comes to this legally?
I think a lot of the folks are deeply disappointed in the government's response, in that when they think of the government, they think that government will protect me. They'll make sure that I'm safe. They'll make sure that my workplace is safe. They feel like they have not been aggressive enough in addressing this issue. As we know, BP has not been transparent about the amount of oil, and we have 1.72 million gallons of dispersant. We have a world record in our beloved Gulf. So I think morally, you know, maybe that's a question for their conscience, but legally, I think that will certainly be talked about in the courts. Folks should have stepped up earlier, and certainly here we are 81 or so days. Keith, you can remind me, because I've been doing this 24 hours a day since it started, it seems like. We've been talking about the respirator issue, and we're still talking about it, and our folks are still not allowed to use it. They're told that they'll be reassigned or they'll be fired if they use protective gear.
So given this report about 2-butoxyethanol and the government's unwillingness, lack of interest, fear of BP, whatever it is, what should workers be doing on their own right now, tomorrow morning, when they are to get to work and be involved in the cleanup? Is it one of these things where we're going to have a strike of people who are trying to clean the Gulf before anything gets done here?
I'd like to think that they could do that, go to their work site and say, I demand that I have protective gear. It's not just the respirators, but other gear as well. But unfortunately, they're afraid. They're afraid that they're going to lose their job. They won't be able to feed their family. So we become their voice, and that's why bpmakesmesick.com is so important. We wonder if people care about the Gulf. We've had 1,000 people an hour sign up to say that they want these folks to be able to choose whether or not they have a respirator. Can you believe that? It's a wonderful feeling. More than 40,000 people from around the United States are saying, let's keep these folks safe so they can go home to their families and be safe, and not be like the lesson that we learned in Alaska, where people are still ill, the lesson that we learned in 9/11. I mean, I wonder, we do not want history to keep repeating itself. We want it to stop here at the Gulf. And you have been a big part of that, Keith. You've been helping us get this message out and making people respond, and we thank you so much for that.
You're more than welcome. That's our responsibility as citizens and as people who live in the same place called the Earth. Corporations don't mind if we repeat history because it's cheaper that way. Marilee Orr of Louisiana Environmental Action Network. It's bpmakesmesick.com. Good luck with that, and great thanks for your continuing efforts on this.
Thank you so much, Keith. I hope to visit with you again soon. Thank you.
Anytime.